Well, thank you for that, Shelley. And good morning, everybody. It's great to be here in this beautiful, beautiful space. Just absolutely love it. Klaatu Barada Nikto. That is a line from one of my favorite movies called The Day the Earth Stood Still. That line is also on the best movie lines of all time list, which is interesting to me because nobody has any idea what it means, because it is in alien language. That amazing science fiction movie made in 1951 contained a big message about the future. An alien comes to Earth in that film and tells us that technology will get our planet in trouble if we don't prepare for its implications. And in that movie, he says, Klaatu Barada Nikto. And I was thinking about that movie when I was preparing this talk, because the future is both exciting and scary. And I wanted to talk to you this morning about the future of self-driving cars. Now, you may think the concept of self-driving cars is an interesting aspect of future transportation, but it's much more than that. Hardly any corner of our lives will be unaffected by the impact of self-driving cars, and endless industries are going to be disrupted. So by definition, self-driving cars have been categorized by the Society of Automotive Engineers into 6 different levels. Level 0 has 0 automation, and level 5 is full automation with no human intervention required. We are a couple of decades from level 5, but I want to imagine that world for the next couple of minutes. So roughly 1.3 million people die in car accidents around the world every year, which means around 3,200 people die every single day in car accidents. An additional 20 to 50 million are injured or disabled due to accidents annually. 90% of car accidents are caused by human error. The prediction for self-driving cars, once the technology has worked out all the bugs, is that very few accidents will occur for one very simple reason. Self-driving cars are going to remove the key source of error from the driving equation, namely humans. Now, theoretically speaking, self-driving cars will not drink and drive. They will not fall asleep at the wheel. They're not distracted by cell phones. They will not experience road rage. And they will not make errors of judgment. And here's what that means for the insurance industry. A dramatic reduction in accidents means the number of automotive collision claims will plunge too. Collision coverage is one of the industry's biggest sources of revenue. And this might mean that the insurance industry will have to radically alter its business model. In other words, insurance companies would have to shift liability from the driver to the vehicle manufacturer. Put another way, if human error is removed, then the responsibility shifts to the manufacturer for technical error. If accidents do occur in the future, chances are it will be the result of a software malfunction. Car technology is already changing so rapidly. We already have collision avoidance, anti-lock braking, adaptive cruise control, blind spot monitoring, lane departure warning, rear obstacle detection, voice commands, and hands-free steering as a partial list. The next 15 years will be dedicated to creating an artificial neural network for onboard car computers that can react to real-life situations. That means developing software that not just detects objects, but has an understanding of objects. So, if a ball bounces across the street, a car has to not just understand the ball, but understand that a child may be near. And if it's true that self-driving cars will reduce 90% of accidents, the impact will be enormous. It means 1,700 people in Canada would be saved every single year. In the US, it would mean close to 30,000 deaths prevented annually. And if you want an even more stunning prediction, self-driving cars could save 50 million lives around the world in half a century. Imagine that for a moment. Let's talk healthcare. If driverless cars mean 90% fewer car accidents, it would mean a saving of more than $200 billion a year in North American healthcare costs. That's staggering. Good news for governments and insurance companies. The drastic drop in auto fatalities and injuries will have a dramatic corresponding effect in lawsuits. So the legal profession will see a huge disruption in personal injury revenue. Conversely, if liability shifts to the car manufacturers, then car companies will have to have massive in-house legal departments. Let's talk body shops. The Canadian Transportation Safety Board estimates there are just under 1 million car accidents in Canada a year, and in the US it's just, I think, north of 6 million car accidents a year. That's a lot of business for body shops. But if 90% of collisions are reduced due to driverless cars, most body shops will go out of business. If you're a body shop owner in the room, you may want to start planning for how to evolve with that coming disruption. Let's talk driving schools. For many years, the road will be shared by both human drivers and self-driving cars, but eventually when that tips over to self-driving cars, there'll be very little need for driving schools. We may see that entire industry disappear in this century. Self-driving cars will have a huge impact on how cities will look and sound. There'll be no need for traffic signs, traffic lights, or speed limit postings. Cars of the future will know the rules of the road, and they'll sense those limits automatically. It's so hard to imagine a city without traffic signs. As a result, traffic fines will decrease, which is not good news for local government coffers. There will be no need for curbside parking or sprawling parking garages. It's said that parking spaces take up roughly about 30% of the city's geography currently. In the self-driving world, Wired magazine predicts that cities will create and scatter small nests or parking hives for autonomous vehicles to gather. They'll drop you off at work or at your destination, then they'll drive to a hive to await your next call. That means traffic will flow smoother through cities because more lanes will free up. Bicycles will have lots of room to roam, and current parking lots could maybe be transformed into green spaces. With driverless cars dropping you off and scurrying off to their hives, nobody will be entering buildings from garages anymore. Wired says architects will be reimagining buildings with much more elaborate lobbies, and underground parking garages will be a thing of the past. You might not need your home garage anymore, so they could be repurposed into new rooms and living spaces, providing new work for the construction and renovation industries. Public transportation will be driverless. Buses, subways, and trolleys that take the same routes every single day are perfect for self-driving vehicles, and they can run 24 hours a day. Car services like Uber and Lyft are already experimenting with self-driving cars. Cities will be cleaner, greener, and quieter because most driverless cars will probably be electric. And because commutes will be faster and easier, higher real estate values may shift from urban centers to the suburbs, which will have a big implication for the real estate industry. The downside of that, increased urban sprawl, and probably a whole lot more roadside billboards. Autonomous vehicles will also multitask. So a vehicle could serve as a school bus in the morning, then deliver packages during the day, then transform back into a school bus at 3:30, then ferry people home from nightclubs and bars in the evenings, and then take off and scoot over to their hives to wait overnight for the next task in the morning. That's why self-driving cars are very intriguing to the alcohol industry. I attended a very interesting talk by the director of marketing from Jack Daniels a little while ago. He mentioned that his company was very interested in self-driving cars, as I imagine most of the alcohol industry must be. As we all know, drinking and driving is a huge, huge problem. But if a human doesn't get behind the wheel, then intoxicated driving should theoretically disappear, saving many, many lives. Maybe MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, might actually have a meeting this century where they say, mission accomplished. From a business point of view, we'll have big impact on the alcohol business and alcohol marketing. First of all, no need for a designated driver. So if 4 people are going out to a bar, and one of those people no longer has to refrain from drinking, the alcohol industry just added 25% more revenue to their bottom line. And if no human is in control of the driving in this world, I wonder if alcohol will be allowed in cars. I'm not advocating it. No cards and letters, please. I'm just wondering out loud. A driverless vehicle will look very different inside. First, no need for a driver's seat. Imagine that in your mind for a moment. That means the interior of cars will become more modular. Seats will be able to turn into beds for long journeys. Front seats will be able to swing around. A table could pop up for meetings, if you wished. Or a car can convert into your mobile office, complete with a desk, so commutes become incredibly productive. If you no longer have to drive, why not use the time to get rid of a little spare tire? Self-driving cars could easily transform into fitness pods with fitness equipment. You could do your 20-minute workout on the way to work in the morning. A boom for the fitness equipment industry. There will be giant screens in the cars of the future, and vehicles will be completely internet connected. So you can tap Netflix on the way to work or catch up on your favorite television show. And that means cars will be able to convert into theater mode seating with an immersive surround sound experience. Cars of the future may even be built out of different materials if collisions aren't such a factor anymore. There might be almost complete window space in cars of the future for enhanced viewing, since you no longer have to keep your eyes on the road. You'll also be able to program personalized sightseeing tours. You just pick out an itinerary on the screen, sit back, and enjoy the sights, which means tour operators will have to evolve and market very different services in the future. Those giant in-dash touchscreens will present huge opportunities for marketers. As a matter of fact, I think there'll be a big corporate fight to control the dashboard of the future. Your screen will be full of branded apps, so you'll be able to place your order at Starbucks with the tap of an app, and your car will find the closest Starbucks via GPS and take you right there to pick it up. Online shopping will increase because you have more time to peruse your favorite retail websites as you sit in your car not driving. Online shipping will get more efficient, as I mentioned earlier, with self-driving delivery vehicles. Vehicles will deliver packages to vehicles. The advertising industry loves a captive audience, and in-car screens will offer a myriad of advertising opportunities. If you need to buy an item, you'll be able to touch the screen during a commercial. Your car will quickly source the nearest store, employ GPS to get there and pick it up, or arrange to send the item to your home. The elderly and the disabled, who often lose the freedom to drive, will be much more mobile and therefore can do more shopping or traveling or whatever they want to do. Another category ripe for disruption in the future is the airline industry. As driverless cars free up time to work, exercise, or sleep, many people will choose to drive to their travel destination instead of flying. Your car will be able to wake you up at 4 in the morning, pick you up, drive you autonomously the entire way from, say, Toronto to Montreal. You can sleep, you can prepare for your meeting, you can do whatever you want, arrive in Montreal in a very relaxed mood, all in time for your 10 a.m. meeting. Suddenly, short-distance air travel won't seem worth the hassle or the price. Even people on longer drives, say from Toronto to Florida, might not stop overnight at a hotel. They'll choose to sleep in their car bed as their car whisks them to Florida. It's cheaper, easier, gets you to Florida faster because that will theoretically shave 16 hours off that trip. Roadside hotels and motels will suffer because the convenience factor they rely on won't be so convenient anymore. Accommodation industries will have to recalibrate their marketing, will have to focus their energy on enticing customers with an experience. In other words, giving people something they can't get in their cars anymore, giving them a reason to choose to stop and pay extra. That kind of thinking also poses a huge problem for the fast food industry. With driverless cars taking you seamlessly to your destination on the fastest route possible, fewer people will detour and impulse buy at, say, a McDonald's that's a couple of streets off the main road. Restaurants off the highway near gas stations will suffer because driverless cars will probably be electric. So, like a Roomba vacuum cleaner, they'll head to designated charging stations on their own when they need to charge up. But autonomous cars will also benefit the fast food industry in cities. Get a load of this. Driverless delivery vehicles will be able to cook food in the car as it travels to your house. That means a hot pizza will be pulled fresh out of the oven as they pull up to your door. And it means fewer trips back and forth to the restaurant for the delivery vehicle. Something Pizza Hut and Domino's are already experimenting with. In the future, autonomous cars will even be able to run our errands. Whether our dry cleaning has to be picked up or our groceries have to be picked up, we'll be able to send our cars out to complete the tasks for us. That means many businesses will have to reconfigure to build drive-thrus so our cars can do our work for us. So say goodbye to the honey-do list and say hello to the Honda-do list. It'll also be interesting, I think, to see how self-driving cars will be marketed. First, many car slogans will have to be revised. For instance, BMW's "The Ultimate Driving Machine" may have to become the ultimate self-driving machine. Car advertising has historically, for 100 years, been built on the foundation of gripping a steering wheel, wandering around a stunning ocean road, or winding its way through wet city streets with high-octane performance. Every car commercial you've ever seen in your life. But self-driving cars will upend the entire marketing playbook for the $9 trillion global auto industry. Because the challenge for automakers will be to redefine automotive freedom. They will have to shift our thinking from the freedom of an arm out the window and a hand on the wheel to the freedom of being able to work while you commute, the freedom to watch a movie while you travel, and above all, they'll have to convince us that relinquishing control is freedom. People are apprehensive about stepping away from the driver's seat, but they are excited about the leap in personal safety. As more autonomous features are added to cars a step at a time, so too will the marketing messaging have to transform a step at a time. It'll be an interesting evolution in persuasion. I remember being in a meeting with the Rogers Cellular division at my company way back in the early 90s. They were telling us at that meeting that we were only using 10% of a cell phone's capability. That in the near future, we would be able to take pictures with our phones, store and play music, shoot video, pay our bills, compose emails, and buy products with it. I remember we all laughed out loud. We could not imagine, not one single person in that room could imagine a flip phone taking a picture. It seemed like science fiction to us. And how quickly that future arrived. The thought of completely autonomous cars may seem that far-fetched right now. Of course, a lot of development is yet to happen. There are literally thousands of variables when driving a car that autonomous vehicles will somehow have to learn. There are a lot of unanswered questions, too. Will self-driving cars lead to less car ownership and more on-demand car sharing? Or will it lead to more car sales because we'll want to customize the interior of our self-driving cars? Will jobs be lost in this brave new world of self-driving public transit, school buses, cabs, and delivery vehicles? Or will the millions of brilliant minds saved due to the drastic drop in auto fatalities lead to amazing innovations? If history has taught us anything, disruptive technology always hatches new opportunities. Who knows what new industries will pop up to create new in-car traveling experiences, or what new jobs will be required to serve and respond to all those mobile people who no longer have to keep their eyes on the road. It is all coming fast. Which may finally explain the mystery of Klaatu Barada Nikto. Translated, it might just mean, fasten your seatbelts. Thank you, folks.